Warm Bodies, 2013 horror romance movie. I'll try not to spend like an hour on this, like I have with like the Twilight series. Yeah, this movie was kind of sweet. It was very comforting, right there. It was a very comforting movie. The stakes like aren't enormously stressful. This is a rom-com, and you get and it's very much like in the vein of, you know, writing from a dog's point of view. We have a lot of internal dialogue from the zombie where he's talking about, you know, like, I go and sit next to my best friend and we grunt at each other. I don't know what I'm doing here. And he's like very, it's not necessarily eloquent, but he doesn't sound like a zombie, right? He sounds like a person. And I think overall, like I was most impressed with the beginning of this movie more than anything, just from like an editing standpoint. The rhythm was really fun, where you have his dialogue that has its own rhythm to it in the way that he's delivering lines to the cuts that are happening, and then we kind of smoothly go into a sequence with this flashback sequence with music, and the rhythm kind of continues there. I really don't know what a better word is other than rhythm, but everything just kind of works so well and flowed really nicely there. And then it was able to kind of switch back between these flashbacks and music and no music and his dialogue very smoothly. I thought that was really great. But from here, you know, it's just like it's a bit ridiculous where he can't remember his name right, and they conveniently have like these other worse zombies. What are called bonies. They have these creatures called bonies that are like black skeletons. They look kind of horrifying, and you know, those guys are definitely not savable. Those are the real monsters. You know, the zombies are only like the halfway monsters, right? They just only kind of eat people. They eat people. They just feel bad about it. They still have some amount of humanity left. How convenient. But yeah, we also get the perspective of like the human encampment as well, and this group of young people, like a girl and a guy, one of who is like Dave Franco, and they're kind of together, and they're going out. I think, I'm not sure, but like for the first time, maybe they seem a little inexperienced, and they're going to get important supplies beyond the wall. And you know, this this isn't like a serious movie. You know what I mean? Like the dialogue is a bit. I don't want to say like necessarily Marvel, but they are. Everybody is pretty relaxed, right? All of the actors are pretty relaxed. Everybody is saying some kind of there are jokes, is my point. There are jokes. There's a guy when they're outside in zombie territory, he's like playing a video game. He's on his phone playing some kind of shooter game. What? And of course, you know, everything kind of goes to shit here. And thankfully, you know, this movie doesn't have a lot of action sequences in this movie, but this one hurt my head. It was kind of chaotic. I'm guessing that's not their forte. It was a bit confusing and hard to keep track of. And like most of this movie is pretty much not action at all. This is like the only sequence, and then the end. But the drama starts when, you know, this vampire, Nicholas Holt, Jesus Christ, zombie, eats her boyfriend. he eats her boyfriend, and he starts eating the boyfriend's brains, and he's like lamenting why he's like, I'm so sorry, I feel really bad about this, but the brains are just like the best part. And then we actually see him like murdering this guy and then eating it. And apparently when these zombies eat the brains or something, it's like a hallucinogenic it's like a hallucinogenic dream sequence drug thing. And he eats the brain, and he can see all of the memories and emotions of the person whose brain it is, right? So he gets all the emotions of like the boyfriend, and like can see all these things, and he sees the girl in his memories too, and kind of like how they met and all this crazy shit. And then he looks over and he makes eye contact with her, and it's pretty funny, right? Like this movie never really made me laugh, but it made me smile, and that's kind of good enough here, for especially for this kind of length and the tone and stuff. You know, it was heartwarming. It made me smile. Didn't really make me laugh, but I had a good time. Nothing too crazy here, but he makes eye contact with her, and she's like absolutely terrified out of her mind because all of her friends are now dead. Great. She doesn't necessarily know that he ate her boyfriend though, which is important later. But what's strange though is he like makes eye contact with her and has this like moment where like music comes in, and all the music choices were actually really good. I thought that they had great music choices that kind of fit the scene and the mood. You know, if you think back to Twilight and like that one action sequence, nothing like that here. I really enjoyed all the choices music wise, which added a lot for me. I love music in movies, and they did it exceptionally here. But he kind of protects her. He's like face to face with her, and she's just scared out of her mind, and he like, you know, it's kind of like a horror kind of vibe, and he rubs his blood on her. Oh, how hot, right? How exciting, how riveting. And he takes her back to his home, which turns out to be like an airport in a plane where he collects all kinds of knickknacks. And he has like a record player where he plays her music, and she's just beyond fucking terrified. But he's able to like kind of communicate more and more and more. You know, it actually seems like he's kind of learning to like she can ask direct questions and he can give her direct answers, right? She's like, I want to go home, and he's like, no, not safe. He talks in mostly like grunts and half words, and somehow, you know, this is enough. I will say though, I did really enjoy I did really enjoy kind of how she was getting like how this dumb bumbling boy who can barely say words is wooing this like half dead bumbling boy is wooing this lady with music and knickknacks. Your zombie is better than your Batman. Oh, come on. No, I don't know about that. But yeah, it's like actually kind of like working, and they're getting along, and they even drive a fucking car. They get into a goddamn car. They get into a nice red beautiful car, and they drive it around the fucking airport. It ain't like she got a whole lot of options. It's true. I mean, she could, yes. Yes, yeah. So they like drive around in a car or something, and she's like teaching him how to drive, and it's just a whole lot of like what is happening. All of her friends and her boyfriend just eaten literally. They do actually. That's a good point though. Thank you for bringing that up, because they do at least address that, right? They do address that. I thought in a pretty fair way. It's cute. He's rubbing blood on her face. What are you talking about? But yeah, he oh god, what was I saying? Oh yeah, they do bring up the fact that, you know, she's been kind of preparing for him to die for a long time, just because so many people have been lost in the past, right? She's lost her mother, she's lost other people. People just die all the time. And they at least do kind of bring up that that's just how things are, and she's been kind of emotionally building a wall, you could say, right? Building some kind of wall to deal with that when it inevitably happens. You know, that's just kind of their world there. And you get like a bunch of funny jokes where, you know, she tries to escape, and he's like, play dead, and she starts like waving her arms around and growling a bunch, and he's like, too much, you know. It's that kind of fare. They're making all of the easy jokes, and it's working, right? That's all. They're making easy jokes. They're making all of the jokes that you would expect them to make for a movie like this, and it's working, right? Like you could feel the setup there. You knew what was gonna happen, and I still thought it was cute. It's cute. It's fine. But like it just gets sillier because apparently like Oh god, she tries to escape again, and he has to defend her from like his best friend and like all these other zombies. And he runs up to her and they hold hands. And apparently this is just like a brain blast for all of the other zombies. Like you get like a close-up of their like half-rotten faces, and they're just looking in wonder at this human and zombie holding hands, which apparently just like starts to change them or something here. I don't know, man. It gets really crazy after this, because they start running away, and then all the other zombies start helping them, and now the other zombie that like kind of couldn't talk before is driving some kind of like airplane vehicle and gets them to safety, and everyone like, you know, they're like all, there's like a bunch of them blocking the car, and they all part ways so that they can let them go through while they're holding hands and stuff. It's all kinds of ridiculous. It's all kinds of ridiculous. I don't know, man. Like, I'm not gonna try and pick it apart too much. Yeah, so, but they're able to finally escape, and he's finally taking her home, right? And they're traveling across the country, and back at the airport, all the other zombies are kind of reeling with this this complete change in the world. They just kind of didn't think it was possible. They thought that they were just food before. And the zombie friend is like looking, he's like looking in the, he's looking at like a bunch of pictures on the wall or something stupid, and he sees like this really small picture of these two people holding hands. And then a whole bunch of other zombies come over and start seeing them, and everybody's like, they have this strange animation where you can see their hearts beat, and it like brights up red, and everybody's heart starts beating like a little bit. Naturally, the more evil bonies, the more evil zombies come over and like sniff them. You know, like we're building up to the point of like, oh, the real enemies are the bonies, and they have to be careful about not becoming too human, right? But while they're at the house, while the main character Nicholas Hoult and the girl are traveling across the country, they stop at a house, and she like invites him to sleep in her room on the floor, though, you know. And this is when he decides to tell her that he did eat her boyfriend. He decides to tell her that he did eat her boyfriend, and she's obviously like not the biggest fan of this, and so they go to sleep, and he actually has dreams, right? They normally don't dream, and for whatever reason this night he has dreams, and he's able to like kind of talk normally, but when he wakes up, she's gone, and they kind of part ways here, and she heads back, you know. It's kind of she heads back and is like talking. She makes it back to her compound, and she's talking to her friend about, you know, it's like we're talking like Mean Girls. We're talking like we're talking like 10 Things I Hate About You kind of scene in like a bedroom with two girls just like casually talking about boys, except this one's a zombie that ate her boyfriend's brains, and she's like holding a pillow and just kind of like being like, oh, but I kind of miss him, I know that's kind of weird, and her friend is like making jokes about it. Sure. During this time though, the other Nicholas Hoult runs into all the other zombies who have now left the airport, and they're trying to escape from the bonies, and they want to help. You know, they want to help him get together with the girl, right? And they're all like kind of becoming more aware and having dreams, and they come up with a plan to infiltrate the complex, because Nicholas Hoult he has all the memories. He has all the memories of the boyfriend, so he knows a secret way in the back, and he just shows up, just him at the girl's house. He shows up there. It really is a rom-com. You know, through and through, this really is a rom-com. Yeah, it's got a rom-com vibe. You know, we're really not spending too much time on all of the maybe nastier parts of being a zombie. They decide to tell her dad, and the friend is just like completely on board with this, and they put a whole bunch of makeup on him, and they walk him over to the dad, who is kind of like the leader here. You know, he's the prime leader. You know, he's very, very anti-zombie. seems pretty fair. And he obviously he doesn't respond too well to this either, but like all the bonies are now closing in. It's just kind of getting like at this point in the movie, I'm zoned out, to be honest, to be frank. At this point in the movie, I zone out, and I kind of start doing everything else in my life that I need to do, because it's just like action from this point forward. You know, people shooting zombies, people shooting bonies, her trying to protect him. Not a lot of important details here. It really, like, I just, you know, I don't care. It's one of those things where as soon as people like start, where as soon as this stuff happens and we're getting like less character stuff, I just tend to zone out. It's hard to keep me engaged, and it's really not like that funny either. You know, this part is not that funny. It's also not that exciting, and like with the jokes and the setups, I already know the punchline here, so I'm kind of just waiting to get to the end, which we do, and it is very sweet. Because they fall out of a window or something together. They fall into him, the zombie, and the girl. They fall out of the window. And they're in the water, and they're talking and like having this moment and connecting, you know. And he gets shot, and it was her dad that shot him, and she like kind of steps in front and is protecting him and trying to get her dad to see reason. When blood starts coming out into the water, and this is what kind of calms everybody down and changes everything, because I guess zombies don't bleed, so he's bleeding out into the water, and it's actually a pretty cool shot, like an overhead shot of, you know, like him bleeding there, and everyone puts down their guns and they're all happy, and she's like, "Is it hurt?" And he's like, "Yeah, it hurts." Sure. He bleeds was my last note. Like the end of this movie, I really did just zone out in. Then we find out he's just a weirdo. Pretty much, yeah, he's just kind of crazy, you know. He's been staring at her so intensely for most of the movie, out here eating brains for no reason. I wonder if he remembers that, right? Because we do get like, there's some more shit that happens after this where, you know, everybody's happy, they kill the bonies, they break down the walls that are keeping all the zombies out, and everybody learns to live again, and they're sitting in the sunshine looking at the sunset. I wonder if in that moment he remembers what brains taste like. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I wonder if he remembers what brains taste like while he's sitting there. You know, happy ending, oh, heartwarming. It was a very kind movie. Oh, I did forget though. I forget my favorite line. I bet brains taste pretty good. He loved them. He loved them. Yeah, they were his favorite part of the body were the brains. He had a great time eating them. Because it was like his only escape from being a zombie, I guess, it was the only way to like really feel, was to eat the brains and to see the memories and feel the emotions and stuff. I did forget that when he's convincing the other zombies though to like come help him, he's like his friend is like, "Where's the girl?" And he's like, "She left." And he's like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "No." And the camera's just on the friend's face, and you see the zombie say, "Bitches, man." Might be the most worthwhile part of this movie is when that zombie says, "Bitches, man." Sure. Sure. But yeah, this was a very sweet movie. Again, nothing too crazy, nothing too enormously memorable other than like bitches, man. You know, it's not like I really bought into their romance. It's not like I really felt anything too crazy. It was a fun concept that was executed well, hit all of the notes that you would expect to hit, and didn't do anything overly complicated, right? We have a very, very simple story here. Zombie falls in love and protects girl. They fight bad guys at the end, and then sit and enjoy the sunset forever, right? It's a pretty straightforward story, and easily enjoyable.